Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.
G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome to the show. Today, you're about to see a mate of mine. He drove down from Queensland in his 1979 Mercedes-Benz, a 280 SEL, and I had to film him. And then, of course, we had to go out and take this for a drive, my 1969 Replica Dodge Dart GT Sport, and have a little chat along the way as well. And you're about to see this riveting stuff in this week's episode of Classic Restos. With me now, what an honour to have Jimmy Barnes on board with me.
The working class man.
How cool's that? Well, David Laws, welcome to the show. Any relation to the John Laws?
No, well, distantly. Fletch, John is my father's second cousin, but don't hold that against me, guys. But I really don't know John at all. But yeah, so a distant relative.
You don't have the golden tonsils like John?
I don't have the golden tonsils, but I'm working on it.
Hey, it's been 24 years, pretty well since I saw you last, and it was great you got in contact and you brought down the 79 Benz, which what a beautiful car.
That's right, mate. How many people have a 43-year-old car as a daily driver and drive 1,200 kilometres just to see Fletch?
Yeah,
the things I do for you, mate.
I know.
And it was worth every kilometre, my friend.
Some things never change, right?
No, they never do, mate.
You've driven the Benz all the way from Queensland,
yes,
down to the Southern Highlands here in New South Wales.
Yes.
And that's fantastic. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, a lot of us just drive our classic cars on Sundays, but you've got yours as a daily, right?
Correct. I've had it to be my daily driver for 8 years now, mate. And you know what? In the 8 years I've had that Benz, it's failed me 4 times with minor things like a flat battery, an alternator, a split hose. That's it. In 4 years, and it's a 43-year-old car that's done well over 300,000 kilometres now.
Bloody unreliable Benzes.
Oh my God. Jeez. Well, as they said, mate, back in those days, the Benzes were over-engineered. They were built, that was back in the era when Benzes were built to last for a lifetime. As most cars were.
They were. So, we're not in a luxury car now, David, we're in something different.
No, mate, we're in a Dart.
Well, it's a VH Valiant. It was done back in 2007 by myself. I wanted to replicate how the Dodge would have looked in 1969 on the American market. And they were the tough boy racer car back then. Big engines in light body cars. You know, in 2007 when I acquired the car, it was white, had a slant 6 in it. And you know what? Okay, maybe today, maybe I would have kept it like that, perhaps.
Yeah.
But hey, look, it was tired, so I just decided to rebuild the car and do a replica Dodge Dart. And it's.
And what does she run now?
Well, it's 433 horsepower later.
Wow.
And it's got a 340 virgin block. So it's been taken out with a 4-inch crank to 416 cubes.
Wow.
360s go 408 usually. Yet a 340 goes to 416.
Yep.
It's only because the bore of a 340 is bigger than a 360, so it's larger than a 101.6 bore. So yeah, 416 cubes.
Right.
And you'll notice with this state-of-the-art package here, David, radio delete. No radio.
Right. Standard as it came from the factory.
Well, yeah, technically. That's how they would have been. Yeah. It's no power steering, no air conditioning. It's got a heater.
Oh, good for the Southern Highlands, mate.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah. But mate, this is just beautiful, and again, so redolent of that era with the way that you've got it all tricked up to be like the original.
Yeah, look, it's a beautiful car. It's a rebuilt car.
Yep.
So, we're talking new suspension components and everything, say from 2007. The car has probably done around about 20,000 Ks since then. So, it's some people, they annihilate me with kilometres with their classic cars. Some guys have done over 100,000 Ks in their classic cars, but yeah, this just doesn't get driven enough. But
it's still, mate, it's one of those cars that's not an everyday car. It is the ubiquitous Sunday car to go out to either a show or to pub for lunch with a friend or two, and or just go for a nice country drive like we're doing today.
Yeah. Plus, this has got the it's got the exhaust solenoids too on where we can open up the pipes.
Oh, right.
And that was just to make it period correct in the day, because the guys in the super stock class, well, they didn't have mufflers on their cars back then, and if they did, they didn't do much of a job of keeping things quiet.
No.
So,
listen to that.
well,
Wow.
You know, what Fletch did with that VH Valiant is absolutely out of this world. We just went for a spin, as you know, and that Dart Replica is unlike anything I've ever seen before. And to think that it actually wasn't a Dodge Dart originally, it is a Dodge Dart now for all intents and purposes when you see it on the road. Done a spectacular job. And to think today that we've gone back 25, 26 years since we first met. Who would have ever guessed that we'd be sitting here today chatting about Fletcher's cars and the journey that we've both been on in that time? And it takes me back to when Fletch and I first met. And he had this beautiful big green Buick Electra 225. I think it was a 73, 74 model. And my God, to think that all that time has passed since we've seen each other, and to hear of the journeys and the cars that we've both driven and own to this day is really quite something. And little do you realise sometimes that when you meet a guy or you meet a friend, you just don't realise that you can go on this journey together, and before you know it, you're 25 years down the track into a friendship, and you think, where the hell has that time gone? And Fletch and I have had the great pleasure of catching up after all this time just recently. And do you know what's wonderful about car friendships and friendships in general? Good friendships, you could just pick up where you left off. I jumped into the Dart today with Fletch. We drove down the road and it could have been in the Buick yesterday. It was just, you pick up where you left off. It's what we call a seamless relationship, which is fantastic. And we had a laugh and a giggle along the way, as you've seen. And the thing that I love about people like us is, and in the car fraternity in general, it's a family. And it doesn't matter what you drive, it doesn't matter what sort of car you've got. We've all got our special cars that we love. I like particular cars, people like other sorts of cars. And you know what? It's all one big family, and we all appreciate these things.
I spend a lot of time out here. The RT Charger's the real deal. An E49. Remember A-Charger? I've always got projects on the go, so Shannon's laid-up cover helps protect my restorations. I'm Mopar through and through. It's a passion Shannon's understands. I wouldn't insure my cars and bikes with anyone else.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
when it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. Welcome back. A bit of a day off. Lawsy called in, no classic Restos attire on, but thought we'd grab the moment and catch up with you, seeing that you drove so far in your Mercedes-Benz, all the way from Queensland down to the Southern Highlands in New South Wales.
That's right.
David, great catching up with you again, and what a magnificent Benz.
Oh, thanks, Fletch. Yes, she's a bit of an old girl, this one. It's a 1979 Merc, and it's a 280 SEL. It's a long wheelbase sedan. Quite a limited number were made. There's not many of these old girls around, and not many people would jump into a 43-year-old car and drive 1,200 kilometres down there with full faith, knowing that the car's going to get them there and back.
Absolutely. There's two testament levels here.
Yes.
The first one is the quality of the product, and the next level is your tenacity to do that.
Yeah,
and I think that that is magnificent.
Oh, thanks, Fletch. It is, mate. And you know what? I have a bit of a thing, guys, about cars, in the sense that life's too short. And I have made a little bit of a promise to myself that I won't drive a car unless it's got white wall tyres and chrome bumpers. And this is my daily driver, unbelievably. And I've owned it for 8 years now, Fletch, and has never let me down.
Being a daily, do you worry about little things, incidentals, like where you park it and all that sort of thing?
Mate, not really. I mean, sure, it's, you know, I take it to the shopping centre, but I don't park it right in the middle. I might park it right at the end.
Yeah.
And when I come out, there's two cars parked either side of it.
There you go.
Yeah, and right at the end of the car park. How often does that happen to you guys?
Well, everyone tries to get the concrete pillar.
That's right, exactly.
There, you know.
But at the end of the day, you've got to understand it is a daily driver, and a little nick or a little bump here and there goes with the territory, as it does with any car.
Working nicely?
Beautifully, and still works flawlessly.
Yep.
So cruise control, electric windows, ice cold air conditioning if you want it. So really they're very standard. And I mean, the great thing about these old cars too, Fletch, there's no computers, nothing to go wrong, and a backyard mechanic can really work on them if you need to.
Lift the bonnet, it's just a man on a pedal box.
That's it. That's right. Yeah. And yeah, his name is Wilhelm.
Now, for the people that are interested in terms of the fuel economy side of it,
yes.
Now tell us about the transmission. Do we have an overdrive?
Yes.
We do?
Yes.
So it's a 4-speed?
Yes, that's
okay,
it.
4-speed overdrive. So economically, being a 6-cylinder, does a good job there?
Does a really good job. I can tell you exactly how much it cost in fuel to come down.
I bet you can.
Yes, $179.30.
There you go.
From the Gold Coast down to Sydney.
The interior is marvellous. You can tell, I always use this as a line, you can tell that a family hasn't gone through it.
That's
now,
right.
That's all due respects to families. We've all been part of one.
Yeah.
But you can just tell the car that's kind of slipped under the radar, gone in between the witches' hats and sort of gone away from the...
That's it.
Taking the kids to school and,
That's it.
you know, I remember cars back in the early 80s where you'd get a lift to work, you know, and there'd be a drawing on the door because the kid used the texter and drew something on the door card and stuff like that. And you don't go doing that.
No. Well, do you know, the elderly couple that I bought the car from, they were in North Sydney, and they were Macedonian, and they were in their 80s, and husband and wife, they've owned the car for 20 years. And when I went to see them, their son helped me with the sale because, you know, they were quite elderly and he was the same age as me. So we've maintained a good friendship. Now, the thing was, I asked Alex, I said, so how often do you use the car? He said, I take my wife to Opera House about once or twice a month. We go to show, we go to dinner, then we go back to our home in North Sydney. And that was for 20 years. He said, I do not take it very much. And I said, well, when I purchased the car, do you think I would be able to drive it home to the Gold Coast? And he was most indignant. He said, what? Drive to Gold Coast? He said, you drive my car around the world. Very good maintained, very good mechanics. You get in the car, please go. He said, you will love the car.
He wanted you to go.
He wanted me to go. Then I jumped into that Benz and I drove this baby home and she never missed a beat. One thing I love about old cars is their DNA, as Fletch likes to refer to it as. It's the difference that really stands out between each car. And one thing that's really unique about my car in a lot of ways is the little things that you don't often see in cars today. And guess what this is? This came with the car brand new. It is the original medical first aid kit that's in the back seat of the car. It's got its own little spot in the back parcel shelf. And look at this. All the original bandages, everything still wrapped up, never been out of its spot in 43 years. So there's all the little instructions there, tapes, bandages, everything, all in pristine as new condition. So bandages and tapes and scissors that are 43 years old, it's really quite amazing and unique. A classic Benz in my garage has always been a dream of mine, and I can even tell you where it started. It all goes back to July 1972 when my family and I lived in Shell Harbour in New South Wales. And one Saturday morning, our next door neighbours, Murray and Margaret Haywood, arrived home in a brand new Mercedes that Murray had picked up that morning. My father was out watering the garden and Murray pulled up in his new Merc. I can remember it was called Ivory and it had tobacco leather interior, which is that beautiful sort of like a tanny colour. And it pulled up into the driveway and Murray was an architect. And Dad was hosing the lawn. He went, oh, Murray, you've got your new Merc. He said, yes, Ronnie, come over and have a look. And Dad yelled out to me and he said, mate, come and have a look at Murray's new Merc. I'd never seen a new Mercedes before. So we walked over and to my shock, Murray opened the doors and showed us around. He said, jump in and I'll take you for a ride. To my shock, my father let me sit in the front seat and he sat in the back. I was 12 years old at the time and I thought, well, okay, well, my God. I sat in that front seat and Murray drove us around Shell Harbour. It was the first time I sat in a car where you pressed a button and the windows went up and down. Automatic windows, whoa, this is cool. And press another button and the roof opened up. It's like, this is like the magic machine. This was around the era of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's like, whoa, what is this magical car? We had a basic old Ford Falcon, you know, and to sit in this luxurious car, look down the bonnet and see this beautiful big Mercedes emblem on this big long nose. It's like, I just felt like royalty. And I'm looking around seeing if I could see any of my friends so I could press the button and I could wave to them. But of course, that's how it was. And you know, we went out for about 5 or 10 minutes, just around the block a few times. And there's a couple of things I'll never forget. I'll never forget the feel of the leather, all the beautiful woodwork that was around the trim. But the most mesmerising aspect of the car was the smell of brand new leather. I often say the smell of brand new leather in a car like that is the most expensive perfume in the world. It's just magnificent. And when we got out of the car, you know, Dad thanked Murray for taking us for a spin. And as we walked away, Dad said, "What did you think of that?" And I'll never forget what I said. I said, "Dad, one day I'm going to own a car like that."
From an early age, I knew some cars were a statement of style and elegance.
This is my SL 63, my most prized possession. Friends say it's more like an obsession. It's my car, and I absolutely love it. I'm a motoring enthusiast, and Shannons is my insurance company.
Shannons shares your passion. Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride.
It goes without saying, really, if you own a classic, it just has to be insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646? Perhaps a discussion regarding the many different products that Shannons has on offer to you, and ones that might suit you best. Also, joining the Shannons Club has never been easier. For more information about insurance, the Shannons Club, and a whole lot more, visit shannons.com.au.
Do you know that little did we realise that we actually filmed, we were in the Matrix movie as extras. Well, we weren't extras, but our cars were. I was driving a friend of mine's Cadillac, and Fletch had his Buick there, and we did some work on the set of The Matrix, the first film. It was Hunter Street in Sydney, 1996, and we had an absolute ball. God, we had a ball. And here we were mixing with Hollywood's famous, and we were looking at the barriers of all the people in the distance, all the public trying to glance into the film set, and there we were. Two car nuts who were just enamoured with cars. And of course we had Cars and the Stars that day, and that was the beginning of the journey.
Okay, this Mercedes, it's the first time I've actually driven one of these.
Yep.
Interesting, the ergonomics, the design for 79. I can see, you can see 1979.
Of course you can.
But you know, a lot of cars in 79, the steering wheels were still a considerable way out from the dash.
Yes, that's right.
The wheel a bit closer towards the dash, which modern cars today are very much like that. It kind of, if we exaggerate that and we go back to the 50s, we look at say an FE Holder or something, you've got a really long steering column tube, wheels here, you know.
That's right.
This time
you can really start to see where it's modernised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you love about this Benz?
Mate, I love the Benz because it's a standalone. I know I'll probably not see one on any given day in the traffic like I do. I mean, you might see an occasional one. To be honest, you know, of the ones that I left, there aren't too many good ones that I left. A lot of them are quite rubbishy, and mate, in all honesty, for many years they've not really been the collectible model.
Yeah.
and we call them sleeper cars. So in the Benz range, this would still be considered pretty much a sleeper model, although I'm starting to see the prices, the values increase a little, and I guess a lot of that, mate, is to do with the fact that this is the last of the chrome bumper model. And so after this, after the W116, the 126s were the first ones with the colour-coded bumpers, and the plastic came in.
Yeah,
so that was the beginning of the plastic era.
I've got to say, I love the overrider bar as a feature on this car. It's just something like, let's give it a chrome bar, but hey, let's do better than that. Let's give it two of them, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it's pretty much. You know, that's one of the appeals of it for me, is the fact that you've got all this beautiful chrome work, which looks spectacular with the paintwork, the white wall tyres, the navy interior. It's a beautiful, elegant package. It looks elegant. It's an elegant limousine that's so reflective of the era that it was back then. Because back in these days, now in 1979, this cost $38,000, brand new.
So average Australian car in '79, around six grand.
Yeah, 5 or 6 grand for a Falcon, or a Fairmont was about 7, I think. So it gives you an idea. And in '79, it was probably close to being the cost of a house.
In a regional area.
In a regional area.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting to hear about vehicles through different people's eyes. Now, my good associate, great friend Mark here at Shannons, he's even got some little videos that he does on cars around his local area, and he puts them on YouTube. You can check him out, Mark. Yeah, Mark Beer's got a YouTube channel there, and you know what I love about it is that he finds cars that the average Joe, just like us, have, and does a little feature on them. But the nice riding cars, he's often referred to them as a French feel.
Oh, really?
So a Cadillac with its 4-coil spring suspension, a very French feel going over speed humps, where the weight of the car, the softness of the car, it was basically went down the lines of like Citroen.
That's right. They had the pneumatic suspension, which Rolls-Royce adopted. Because Rolls-Royce they licensed that off Citroen to develop their pneumatic suspension for the Silver Shadows in '65.
This would be the closest thing to, in terms of the smoothness of weight, it reminds me of an American car.
Correct.
Would you agree with that?
Yes. A little firmer, a little stiffer, not quite as wallowy as what the Caddies were. I mean, the Caddies were boulevard cruisers and they just float. We call it the famous float.
Are you saying the Cadillacs are a boat, David?
No, landliners, mate. Landliners. I love the landliners. But
it doesn't matter how stiff a shock that you buy for those full-size American cars, you'll never stiffen them up.
No, that's right. No, exactly.
It's a very graceful car.
Yes.
And it's a very easy car to drive.
Yeah.
And, you know, the old cliche, the corporate director or
the board of the chairman of the board's
the wife of the general manager.
Exactly.
Might have been lucky enough to score one.
That's right.
And you can see that.
Yeah, of course you can. And mate, that's who it was aimed for.
It's still drivable. And obviously you keep a nice alignment, it steers nice and straight.
It's got a brand new steering box.
Brand new steering box.
Last week.
There you go. So you can have a bad alignment if you've got a brand new steering box. No, it's good, David. It's good. It's good. It steers nice and straight. Nice on the braking as well.
Brand new brakes.
Doesn't go left or right. Pulls up nice and straight. Yeah, like you say, it's your daily car.
Mate, it is. And you know what? It's one of those things, mate. Like any car, you invest in the maintenance of it. And when you invest in the maintenance of it, mate, it pays you back in reliability and joy. You know what? It's not, and really, at the end of the day, and the lovely thing about this car too, mate, is the fact that being a classic will never depreciate in value.
That's true too.
It does never depreciate.
One thing my dad said, rest his soul, he said, you get a nice car, you look after it, and it'll look after you.
That's that, mate. That's my motto.
On you, Dave. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Thanks, Fletch. That's great.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to drive this W116 1979 Benz.
You won't drive another one with me next week, I bet.
You got that right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't really believe that we own anything. We might own it part-time because we're passing through this beautiful mortal coil. So really, I refer to myself as a custodian of everything. This beautiful lady, she is currently in my custody. So whilst she's in my custody, I will look after her, I will pamper her, I'll do all the things necessary to keep her on the road for as long as possible. Now, she's 43 years old, and I'd like to think that in another 43 years she might be around, but who knows what the world's going to be like in 43 years from now. But that's not my concern, because every day I look after it, and I know that with her look, she's such a stately, grand old lady, and she makes a statement without having to scream it. So she's got the elegance, the class and the style without being crass and too over the top. But that's why she stands out even amongst new cars and new Mercedes-Benzes. Some of those cars are beautiful, but nothing surpasses all the chrome and that beautiful traditional Mercedes-Benz look. So she is my pride and joy. I absolutely love her, and it's just been such a pleasure to share my story.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos. A little bit more about the featured Dart and, of course, the man himself, David Laws, the man and his car. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.